It was only on her deathbed that Chloe Beaumont learned the truth. I was the one who gave her blood when she was dying, the one who took the fall for her family to protect her, and the man who had loved and protected her with everything I had. Meanwhile, the first love she cherished had conspired with her best friend to destroy her family and leave her with nothing. When she opened her eyes again, Chloe had been reborn 4 years earlier, to the day she was forced to marry me. Now, her only thought was to apologize to the man she had misunderstood for 6 long years. Thunder rumbled across the sky as a cold, steady rain fell, and I knelt in the middle of it all. My punishment for throwing away a gift from her first love the day before was to kneel in the rain for an entire day. For 4 years, I had endured nothing but her cold shoulder. If I hadn't been in love with Chloe since we were young, I never would have tolerated this kind of treatment. But right now, I was done tolerating it. This punishment, this storm, had finally woken me up. Meanwhile, Chloe, having rushed to the old manor, saw my rain-soaked back from a distance. She immediately shrugged off her coat and ran to me. She tried to wipe the water from my shoulders before wrapping her coat around me, pulling me into an embrace. "Ethan, why are you standing out here in the rain? You're freezing." I stared at the woman before me, finding it hard to believe. There was a time I would have dreamed of her treating me this way. Even a single kind word would have been enough. But now, I couldn't help but let out a soft, bitter laugh. "Have you forgotten, Ms. Beaumont? You're the one who ordered me to stand out here." I reached out, firmly removed her arms from around me, and then pushed her away. "I have the divorce papers ready. All you have to do is sign, Ms. Beaumont, and you'll finally be free of me." Hearing this, Chloe froze, stumbling back as I pushed her. Punishment? What punishment? When the memory finally hit her, panic flooded her face. She lunged forward, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist. "No divorce. Ethan, I don't want a divorce. Ms. Beaumont, it's time for me to live my own life. I'm letting you go, so please, let me go too." As I spoke, my hand instinctively rose, wanting to touch her, but I stopped it mid-air and let it fall back to my side. Somehow, Chloe saw the small gesture. She snatched my hand and pressed it against her cheek, her eyes welling with tears as she pleaded pitifully, "Don't go, Ethan. I was wrong. I regret everything." "Why the crocodile tears?" I asked, genuinely confused by her dramatic display. Just as Chloe tried to pull me inside, Evan walked into the courtyard. His face darkened for a second when he saw us together, but he quickly plastered on a smile and hurried over. "Chloe, Ethan, have you two made up? That's wonderful. I knew you wouldn't give Ethan the cold shoulder just because of me." I chuckled softly at his words. "So that's it. I was wondering why you had such a sudden change of heart, Chloe. It was all because your precious first love told you to. You really must love Evan, to be willing to hug someone you despise just for him." With that thought, I pushed Chloe away completely. "Don't call her that. Once she signs the divorce papers, you can start calling her your wife." Evan stared, stunned. What are you talking about? "Ethan, don't get the wrong idea. Chloe and I are just friends." Before he could finish, Chloe cut him off. "Shut up. This has nothing to do with you," she snapped, forcefully dragging me inside. The heavy door slammed shut in Evan's face with a resounding thud. Outside, Evan was left alone in the drizzling rain. Inside, Chloe shoved me back onto the bed. I had no idea she was so strong. "Chloe, what are you doing?" I demanded. My question seemed to fluster her. I'm not doing anything. I wanted to help you change. Your clothes are wet. I don't need your help, Ms. Beaumont. I can do it myself." I took a deep breath, pushed her aside, and grabbed a set of clean clothes before heading into the bathroom. Chloe just sat obediently on the edge of the bed, her eyes fixed on the bathroom door. It wasn't long before she grew restless, rushing to the bathroom door and starting to scratch at it. "Ethan, are you done in there?" she called out. "Ethan, why aren't you making any noise? Ethan, are you okay?" The woman outside seemed determined to get a response, even starting to jiggle the lock. Seeing this, I had no choice but to answer her. I had no idea what had gotten into her. When I finally came out, toweling my hair dry, I opened the door and walked right into her. I could feel the warmth of her breath against my chest. Before I could say a word, Chloe pulled me into the master bedroom. It was her room, but she hadn't slept in it once since our wedding day. I looked down in surprise at the woman clinging to me. "Ms. Beaumont, if you're hoping for a repeat of that night 4 years ago, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested." "No, that's not it," she stammered. I just want to be close to you." "Really? The kind of closeness that takes 4 years to happen? Did you have to wait until I had no feelings left for you?" I pressed, relentlessly. "If you just want to play games, Ms. Beaumont, there are plenty of other people out there. We may not have had a good start, but we can at least have a clean break." Chloe had been listening silently, but the words "clean break" made her snap. She jerked her head up, her eyes wide. No! After she spoke, the room was so quiet I could hear both of our hearts beating. After a long moment, she took my hand and pressed it against her chest. "You said your heart is dead to me," she whispered. "So what if I give you mine instead? I'll give you my heart, and I'll warm yours back to life. Okay." Chloe wanted to atone for what she'd done, but I knew that no matter what, even if it meant dying for me, she would never let me go. I watched her, unsure whether I should stop what she was doing or what she was saying. Seeing my silence, a small, hopeful smile touched her lips as she pressed herself against me. "Ethan, forgive me. I was wrong. I'm so sorry." I stood as still as a tree, letting her cling to me. "What could you possibly have done wrong, Ms. Beaumont?" "Everything. I was wrong about everything. From now on, I'm yours. All yours." "And what if I don't want you anymore?" I countered. At my words, she lifted her head to meet my gaze, her eyes reflecting only me. She leaned in, her lips close to my neck. "You can't not want me, Ethan. If you don't want me, I'll die right here in your arms." I was about to scoff and push her away, but in the next second, my eyes shot open and my knees felt weak. Chloe! My past desire for her was matched only by my current resistance. Evan's words were still ringing in my ears. I couldn't accept this sudden, unexplained change in her. It wasn't freedom I wanted. It was her, all of her, including her heart. If I truly wanted to be free, my skills would get me out of any prison, let alone the Beaumont Manor. As if sensing my thoughts, Chloe paused her kisses on my chest. "Don't be afraid, Ethan," she whispered. "My attitude didn't change because of Evan. It's because... Her words trailed off as she bit her lip. I needed an answer, but just as I moved to push her away, her voice echoed clearly in my mind. "Because I know how ridiculously wrong I was, how pathetic I've been." "What did you just say?" I asked out loud. Chloe, thinking I was pressing her for an answer, said, "Because I realized I can't live without you. Not in this life or the next." But that wasn't what I meant. Before I could clarify, her voice filled my head again. "We'll be tangled together in life, and when we die, our ashes will be mixed together." It finally clicked. I had developed some kind of telepathy. I could hear Chloe's thoughts. Lost in this realization, I forgot to push her away, and she took the opportunity to hold me even tighter. When she noticed my distraction, she started getting handsy again. "I want to kiss my darling, but he won't let me." That thought snapped me back to reality. I struggled and pushed her away, studying her from head to toe. The woman in front of me just blinked, looking at me with a dazed expression. She seemed perfectly normal. I shook my head. Everything that had happened today was too strange. I needed to think. "You didn't come all the way back here just to say these things, did you, Ms. Beaumont?" I gestured for her to leave as I spoke. "Of course not," she said. "I came to take you home." "Home? What home?" "Serenity Gardens. Let's go back to Serenity Gardens, please." "I'm sorry it took me so long to come for you." What was wrong with today? It was just one bizarre thing after another. Was Chloe possessed? Don't you think that sounds ridiculous, Ms. Beaumont? It's been 4 years. Late doesn't even begin to cover it. The calmer I remained on the subject of home, the more frightened Chloe became. She couldn't stop the thoughts from racing through her mind. Asterisk, does he not love me anymore? Is he going to leave me? Asterisk, the possibility made her want to chain me to her side. She'd had a strict, formal upbringing, and ever since learning of the childhood betrothal, she had always treated my younger brother, Evan, with special care. She saw Evan as both a little brother and her future husband, but their relationship was stagnant, like that between two strangers. It wasn't until I came into the picture that a little light entered her life. Chloe lowered her head. "I'm sorry, Ethan. Is there any chance you can forgive me?" I said nothing. My head was starting to ache. I was soaked from the rain, and my life at the manor had been hard, leaving me weaker than before. I was almost certainly coming down with a fever. Besides, I'd never seen this side of Chloe before. She was completely different from the person she was around Evan. As my headache worsened, the world started to spin. Chloe immediately noticed something was wrong and helped me to a seat. "You were out in the rain, you're probably getting a fever. You need to rest, okay?" Fearing I would refuse, she added in a small, pleading voice, "Please." I leaned against her, my eyelids growing heavy. I have a strange constitution. I barely feel pain, but any discomfort from illness is amplified tenfold, so I'm always careful not to get sick. Today, however, had been full of surprises. Seeing my eyes shut and my face pale, Chloe's heart seemed to stop. She immediately helped me up and rushed me out of there. I was unconscious for a full day, not waking until late the following night. When I opened my eyes, Chloe was right there beside me, clutching my arm. The scene was so real, something I had dreamed of more times than I could count. I held my breath as I gently removed her arm, slipping out of bed and onto the balcony. The moment I left, she stirred. She instinctively tightened her grip, only to find her arms empty, which made her bolt upright in bed. Luckily, she looked up and saw me leaning against the railing, gazing at the stars. She padded silently up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist. "Sweetheart, what are you doing out here?" I turned, a small laugh escaping my lips. "Are you sure you have the right person, Ms. Beaumont? Do I really look that much like Evan from behind?" The truth was, my half-brother and I didn't look that similar, but she had mistaken me for him from behind once before. At my words, she hugged me tighter. "I wasn't mistaken, Ethan. That name is only for you. You should go back to bed," I said. "You have a low fever, you need to rest." "Fine, let go. I'll get some rest. But you're not planning on staying the night, are you, Ms. Beaumont? 4 years ago, you made it very clear you would never share a bed with me again. You wouldn't want to go back on your word, would you?" The memory filled her with regret, but the past was the past. She moved in front of me, took my hand, and slapped it against her own cheek. "Then let's do it. Slap me. Slap me hard. As long as it makes you happy." I did as she asked, slapping her across the face. I loved Chloe, but I also hated her. She deserved that slap. To my surprise, she then turned her other cheek to me. "Again, if your hand hurts, you can use something else." At that, I couldn't help it. I laughed and lowered my hand. Chloe watched me laugh, a dazed look on her face, before she slowly rose onto her toes. Her face grew larger in my vision, but just as our lips were about to touch, I pushed her away. Chloe had anticipated my rejection and used the momentum to step back, but she misjudged the distance and tumbled right over the second-floor railing. The next thing I knew, she was lying unconscious on the lawn below. Late that night, the wail of an ambulance came and went. I stood waiting in the hallway outside the emergency room. After what felt like an eternity, Jessica Miller and Chloe's personal bodyguard, Maya Vance, finally came out. "How is she?" I asked. Jessica's expression flickered for a moment before she composed herself. "The doctors are still running some tests. Mr. Hayes, you're still running a fever. I'll have Maya take you home to rest. I can take care of things here." I glanced into the room, then back at Jessica and Maya, and nodded. It was only natural that Chloe's staff would be wary of me. After all, I was the one who had pushed her. It made sense they wouldn't want me near. I went back to the manor but was in no mood to rest. Instead, I picked up my phone and made a call. "It's me, Ethan. Mentor. To what do I owe the honor of a call from the old master himself?" "Drop the old master part," I said. "Got it, Mentor. So, are you sick?" "It's not me, it's Chloe Beaumont. She fell from a second-story balcony. She's at your hospital now, Cedar Sinai. Can you check on her for me?" The moment Sarah Reed heard it was Chloe, her interest vanished. "I don't want to see her. What's so great about her that you care so much? It'd be no great loss if she died from the fall. She may have her faults, but she's still my wife. Just go check on her." Sarah grumbled an affirmation but took her sweet time leaving her office. After navigating the hospital corridors to the ER, she asked a nurse, "The patient who fell from a second-story balcony, where is she? Did she make it?" "Only one patient came in from a second-story fall. Let me see. Patient's name is Chloe Beaumont. Treatment is admission for observation. Diagnosis is a mild concussion. She's already been moved to a VIP suite. She has priority status here." Sarah snorted. "What's her actual condition?" "Who was the attending physician in the ER?" "Dr. Peterson from emergency." After getting the details, Sarah called me back. "Mentor, I checked on her. She's fine. It's just a mild concussion. She'll be back on her feet in a couple of days." "A VIP suite for that? What a waste of resources." "She's a Beaumont of Los Angeles. Of course they're going to give her special treatment." "Thanks for checking. You're the one I'm worried about, Mentor. So, when are you finally divorcing her?" I thought about everything that had happened. "I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We'll see." I figured Chloe would be out of the hospital in a day or two, but the next morning, Jessica showed up at the manor, her face grim. "Mr. Hayes, it's Ms. Beaumont. Something's happened." Her words left me stunned for a moment before I managed to compose myself. "What happened?" "As long as she's alive, I can bring her back." My determination seemed to surprise Jessica. She almost lost her composure. "It's difficult to explain. You should probably come and see for yourself." On the drive over, I prepared myself for the worst, even brain death. But when I arrived, I found Chloe clutching a pillow, looking up at me with the innocent eyes of a child and calling me Big Brother. I couldn't process what I was seeing. "As you can see, Ms. Beaumont hit her head. She's not herself," Jessica said, choosing her words carefully. "I wanted to find a doctor, but Chloe was clinging to me so tightly that she started to cry the moment I tried to move away, so I had to hold her and pat her back to calm her down. I gave Chloe's chin a little scratch and turned to her assistant. What did the doctors say? What did the scans show? They said they can't find a clear cause, but she's been like this ever since she woke up. Jessica pushed her glasses up her nose, as if to add weight to her words. She thinks she's a little girl, but she remembers you. She's been asking for you constantly, and she cries if you're not here. As she spoke, she had to lower her head to hide her expression, her shoulders shaking slightly. I understood. Anyone seeing the powerful Chloe Beaumont acting like this would have a hard time not laughing. Ethan, Chloe whined from my arms. I'm hungry. I opened my mouth to speak, then looked at Jessica. Ms. Miller, could you watch her for a minute? I need to find her doctor. No, don't go, Ethan, Chloe cried, tightening her grip on me. Jessica sighed and looked up at the ceiling. I've already contacted a specialist facility to see if we can arrange a consultation with a team of experts. Until then, I was hoping we could trouble you to look after her, Mr. Hayes. You're the only one she seems to trust. Trusts me? I asked, skeptical. Jessica gave a helpless sigh and demonstrated. She stepped forward and said, Ms. Beaumont, let me take you to get something to eat. No, you're a mean lady. Chloe immediately ducked behind me, then grabbed my hand and pointed at Jessica. Ethan, she's mean. Don't worry, I'll protect you, I said. You see, Jessica said with a sigh. If we had any other option, we wouldn't trouble you, Mr. Hayes. Trouble me? I admitted her words struck a nerve. Why wouldn't you want to trouble me? She may not like me, but I'm still her husband. At a time like this, were you planning on calling Evan instead? My words left Jessica speechless. She quickly lowered her head. You're right, we should have called you. I'm sorry, that was poor judgment on my part. When can she be discharged? I asked. Her condition is stable, so she can be discharged anytime. Jessica looked at me expectantly. I knew what she was asking, and I didn't have a better solution. All right, get her things. We're going back to Serenity Gardens. I took Chloe's hand and looked down at the woman whose eyes were fixed only on me. Chloe, I'm taking you home, okay? A bright smile spread across her face, and she nodded enthusiastically. I'm going home with Ethan. I'm going home with Ethan. Seeing this, Jessica turned away and let out a huge sigh of relief. The only thing more painful than acting is watching your boss pretend to be a child. Chloe Beaumont was one of the most powerful people in Los Angeles. She could make the whole city shake. Who would have thought she'd be here, acting like a little girl just to win a man's affection? Honestly, if her job and her life weren't on the line, Jessica would have burst out laughing long ago. Serenity Gardens was a sprawling, garden-style estate designed by Chloe's mother. It was her last and greatest work. Because of this, Chloe treasured the place and rarely allowed visitors. Evan had visited a few times while her mother was still alive, but never again after she passed. As for me, I had never set foot on the property. The car drove smoothly through the landscaped grounds for nearly 15 minutes before we finally reached the main house. I got out of the car and stood by the water pavilion, looking at the house. Long time no see, I murmured. Serenity Gardens had won the prestigious Gold Key Design Award, primarily for the innovative architecture of the main residence. And that design was mine. It was my very first architectural project, one I had collaborated on with Chloe's mother online for months. When it came time to submit it for the award, I declined her offer to be listed as a co-designer. Ethan, why aren't you coming inside? Chloe asked, seeing me hesitate. Hurry up and take me home. I snapped out of my reverie and nodded, letting her pull me into the house. Jessica had already asked the kitchen to prepare a late breakfast, which was just being served. Chloe immediately seized the opportunity to wrap her arms around me. Ethan, I want you to feed me, and I want to listen to your tummy to see if it's hungry. She bent down and pressed her ear to my stomach. I hear it rumbling. You're hungry too. Jessica had planned to stay for breakfast, but seeing Chloe's childish act completely killed her appetite. She stood up to leave. Mr. Hayes, I need to get to the office and take care of a few things. Here's my number. Call me if you need anything, or you can ask Maya for help. She handed me her card. Got it. Thank you. After Jessica left and I had finished feeding Chloe, I asked one of the housekeepers to take her upstairs for a bath and a nap, but Chloe wouldn't have it. I want to go with Ethan. I want to go with Ethan. She clung to me, refusing to let go. I'm a boy and you're a girl. We can't do that together, I explained patiently. She ignored me, her lower lip trembling. But we have an arranged marriage. People with arranged marriages can do everything together. Her words struck me as odd. Chloe, how did you know about that? Mommy told me, she said, puffing out her chest with pride. But everyone, including you, Chloe, always believed the betrothal was to Evan. After all, when the agreement was made, no one specified whether it was for the legitimate son or the son of the other woman. A thought occurred to me. Chloe, I asked suddenly, are you really mentally impaired? She just tilted her head, looking confused. What are you talking about, Ethan? I'm not impaired. Asterisk if I don't pretend, I can't hug him. Ethan, I love you so much. Asterisk I heard her inner voice and thought, I knew it. A simple fall from the second floor couldn't have caused this. She nuzzled against me like a kitten, rubbing her face on my shirt. I firmly took her face in my hands, holding her at arm's length to get a better look. If she wanted to play this game, then I would play along. With that, I tilted her chin up with my finger. Good girl, Chloe. She purred at my touch. You're touching me, so I get to touch you too. She reached up and caressed my cheek. I could feel her hand trembling as it touched my skin. Why are you shaking? I asked, taking her hand and holding it against my face. Are you cold? She hummed in response and leaned into my embrace, holding me tight. I hadn't slept at all the night before, and strangely, having her this close felt comforting. We ended up falling asleep right there on the sofa, wrapped in each other's arms. After a while, hearing the sound of my steady breathing, Chloe's body began to tremble with excitement. Hee, if I'd known this would work, I would have started pretending days ago with that thought. She carefully lifted me into her arms and carried me upstairs to the master bedroom. Meanwhile, Evan went to the Beaumont Manor, only to be shocked when he found I wasn't there. Where's Ethan? Mr. Hayes has moved into Serenity Gardens with Ms. Beaumont, a housekeeper informed him, adding, they left yesterday. How is that possible? Why would Chloe let him into Serenity Gardens? Why wouldn't she, their husband and wife? It's perfectly normal for him to live there. Evan was left speechless. He shot the housekeeper a venomous glare before turning and storming off to his car, heading for Serenity Gardens. He knew exactly how much that place meant to Chloe. Chloe's mother, Eleanor Beaumont, was a world-renowned architect, and Serenity Gardens was her final masterpiece. Chloe had been very close to her mother, a woman known for her grace and intellect, but she had tragically passed away when Chloe was just a teenager. Evan had only visited Serenity Gardens a handful of times as a child, and never again after Eleanor's death. The news that I was now living there was more than he could stand. The next day at Serenity Gardens, Chloe was pestering me to go swimming with her. She had changed into a swimsuit and was parading back and forth in front of me. Ethan, let's go play in the water. I'm not interested. She sidled up to me again, pulling me toward the pool. Come on, please, she begged. I let her lead me to the edge, then allowed her to push me in. Chloe, who helped you change? I had only been on the phone with Sarah for a few minutes, and suddenly here she was in a swimsuit. Chloe put on an innocent face and pointed. She did. Maya. I followed her finger and saw Maya standing nearby, looking thoroughly unimpressed. Ah, so Maya helped you. All right, fine. We can swim for a little while. Yay, you're the best, Ethan, Chloe cheered. Chloe laughed as she playfully splashed water at me. But when she saw my wet hair plastered to my forehead, she froze, just staring at me. A moment later, she drifted closer and melted into my arms. Ethan, you're so handsome, she whispered. You shine like a star. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with adoration. You're beautiful too, Chloe. I love your face, I said, meaning every word. The next second, I heard her thoughts. Asterisk, just my face? You don't like my body? Asterisk at the same time. She gave a little cough and began to swim around me, showing off her graceful strokes and pale skin. Asterisk, look at me. Look at me, darling. Asterisk, I pulled off my wet shirt and tossed it aside, leaving me in just my swim trunks. Then I reached out my hand to her. Chloe's eyes lit up and she quickly swam over to me. But just as she reached me, Maya approached the edge of the pool. Mr. Hayes, Evan Hayes is at the front gate. The moment she heard Evan's name, Chloe instinctively hugged me tighter, pulling me against her. Is he? Let him in, I said to Maya. Then take Chloe upstairs and make sure she stays there. I gave Chloe's ear a gentle squeeze and started to get out of the pool, but she kept her arms wrapped around my waist, refusing to let me go. I patiently tried to coax her. I just have to go talk to a guest. We can play more later, okay? She wouldn't have it, burying her face in my chest and nuzzling against me. Her touch was making me feel warm, and seeing the look on her face, I tilted her chin up and leaned in. It was a brief, light kiss, but it sent a shiver through her. She tried to follow my lips as I pulled away, but I stopped her with a finger to her own. Be good, Chloe. I'll come find you in a little while. Seeing my firm refusal, she gave a reluctant, pouty looking utterly dejected. I softened my voice. Don't be sad. If you go upstairs like a good girl, I'll give you another kiss as a reward. That was enough to make her happily head upstairs. I'm a possessive man. I didn't want Evan to see this adorable side of her. This was a part of her that was for my eyes only. When Evan walked in, he found me lounging on a deck chair, sipping a cocktail. "Ethan, what are you doing here? You're calling me brother now? Others might not know the truth, but you do. What year were you really born? Your mother, the other woman, had you long before you claim. Did you think I didn't know?" My words made his face pale, but he forced a smile. "What are you talking about, Ethan? Dad would be furious if he heard you say that." "Would he?" I said, giving him a bored look. "If he dropped dead from anger, I might actually be pleased." "Ethan, this family has never mistreated you. How can you talk about our father that way?" "Enough. Did you come here for a reason? If so, spit it out." "I went to the manor to see you, and I was surprised to hear Chloe was there. By the way, where is she? Things seemed a little tense between you two last time. Is everything okay?" Evan asked with false concern. Meanwhile, upstairs, Chloe was leaning against the balcony railing, silently watching my exchange with Evan by the pool. Maya stood behind her and spoke cautiously. "Ms. Beaumont, are you really going to keep this up?" Chloe didn't seem to hear her. Maya had to repeat the question before she responded. What did you say? Aren't you afraid Mr. Hayes will find out?" "No. What if he finds out you're lying and decides to leave you for good?" Chloe let out a soft, chilling laugh, her eyes fixed on me below. "He won't. I won't let him. Even if I have to resort to darker methods, even if he ends up hating me, I will never let him leave." As she spoke, her expression twisted into something obsessive. A chill went down Maya's spine. "Ms. Beaumont, please, don't do anything rash. You can't force these things. You'll only end up hurting him and yourself. I don't care if it's forced. He will be mine." "Then I guess Mr. Hayes is just unlucky." "What did you say?" Chloe turned to her, her face a blank, cold mask. Maya's breath hitched, and she quickly bowed her head. "I'm sorry, Ms. Beaumont. I misspoke." "No, you weren't wrong," Chloe said, pulling on a coat over her clothes. "All of this, my love and my hate, it's all for him. What Ethan wants is me. You just don't understand." Right. I'm single, so I don't get it." "Fine, I won't say another word." As Chloe finished dressing and turned to go downstairs, she glanced back at Maya. "From now on, you know what to say, don't you?" Maya nodded, feeling utterly miserable. If she had any business sense, she would have switched jobs with Jessica ages ago and let her deal with this mess. Downstairs, Evan was making a snide remark. "Is this your first time at Serenity Gardens, Ethan? I can give you a tour if you like. You see, this place is very special to Chloe." "Chloe, you're here," he exclaimed as she appeared. "I thought you weren't home." "Ethan, why didn't you tell me she was here? You just let me stand here waiting." My expression darkened at his words, and I turned to look. I was relieved to see that Chloe was fully dressed, which improved my mood slightly. Chloe could tell I was angry just from my expression. She immediately rushed to my side, sat down, and wrapped her arms around me, resting her head in the crook of my neck. She didn't spare Evan a single glance. Evan's smile faltered. "Chloe, what's wrong? You look tired. Did Ethan do something to upset you?" He pressed on. "I know he has a temper, and he probably makes you angry sometimes, but you two are married. If you just treated him with half the patience you show me, I'm sure he'd be a better man." Evan finished, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I let out a cold laugh. "Really? You give yourself too much credit. Whether Chloe and I stay together or split up is our business. It has nothing to do with you." With that, I tilted her chin up and kissed her. Evan gasped, his eyes widening in shock at the sight of us kissing. But what truly stunned him was that Chloe didn't pull away. How was this possible? She had always despised me. She never even stayed the night at the manor. How could she be letting me kiss her? But of course Chloe was reacting. In fact, she was reacting so strongly she almost dropped her act. I had only meant for it to be a quick kiss, but I had been wanting this for so long. I loved Chloe, the person, and of course I loved her body. If I hadn't cared about her feelings, I might have resorted to drugging her countless times over the past 4 years. Maybe then she wouldn't have been able to leave me, but my pride demanded that I try to win her heart for real. As our lips met, I sighed internally and pulled her closer, my arm tightening around her waist. Kissing the woman you love is addictive, and with Evan watching, I was even more motivated to give him a good show. Chloe, for her part, was as pliant and purring as a kitten. Asterisk, my darling is so sweet. Please, just a little longer. Asterisk, I gave her lower lip a gentle bite before pulling away. She immediately tried to press closer, completely insatiable. I held her head in place, letting her nuzzle against my neck as I shot a cold glare at Evan. "What are you looking at? Get out." Evan's face turned beet red as he stammered, Your mother was the other woman. Are you trying to be the other man?" I doubt you could even make it as a model. With what you're packing, what rich old woman would even look at you?" My words cured his stutter instantly. His face was practically purple with rage. "Ethan, how dare you talk to me like that? You, Chloe, are you going to let him say that?" But Chloe was too busy inhaling my scent to pay Evan any mind. Asterisk, "Kiss me again, Ethan. I want you to kiss me." Asterisk, hearing her thoughts, I tilted her chin up and gave her another quick kiss. "Chloe, let's go to our room." Her eyes lit up and she nodded eagerly. And so, Evan was left standing there, dumbfounded, as I swept Chloe into my arms and carried her away. This was insane. What had Ethan done to her? There was no reason for Chloe to ignore him completely. Something was definitely wrong. He frowned, pulling out his phone to call Jessica as he walked away. "Jessica, it's Evan. I heard Chloe is sick. Is that true?" His question made Jessica wonder if he somehow knew about the fall and Chloe's subsequent act. She paused for a second before responding, a slight frown on her face. "Why do you ask, Mr. Hayes? I'm at Serenity Gardens. I saw Ethan taking care of her, and I was a little concerned. If Jessica hadn't been so sure the secret was safe, she would have thought he knew. Ms. Beaumont has just been very busy with work lately. She's just resting at home. As for Mr. Hayes taking care of her, that's a private matter between them, and it's not my place to comment." "I see," Evan said. "I was just worried about her. Since Ethan is here, I'll head home. But if anything happens to her, you have to let me know. Our families go way back. Even though she and I can't be together now, well, there's no point in talking about that. I won't keep you. Goodbye." Evan hung up, his face a dark scowl as he drove away. Back at Serenity Gardens, I gently stroked Chloe's back as she clung to me. Chloe sensed my change in mood and her eyes started to well up. "Ethan," I snapped out of it and gave her a reassuring smile. "I'm fine." Evan's act was just like his mother's, playing the innocent victim. If it weren't for her, my own mother wouldn't have gone into a difficult, premature labor after a terrible shock. She died not long after I was born, leaving behind a massive inheritance that the hypocrite Richard Hayes handed over to Evan's mother. It all belonged to my mother. Ever since I was old enough to understand, I've been planning how to get it back. But I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. But even on her deathbed, my mother held out a sliver of hope for him. He coaxed her into signing a legally binding will that left everything she owned to him. I'm just like my mother. When we love completely. Richard Hayes was her downfall and Chloe is mine. Fortunately, I've come to my senses. Or rather, I've given up on my old approach and decided to try a new way to win her over. I opened my eyes and looked at the woman before me, gently pinching her lips. I would hold on to the title of her husband, and slowly, surely, make her mine. I had never truly intended to divorce her. "Ethan, are you unhappy because of him?" she asked. I gently pinched her ear. "Yes, I can't stand him. And you used to like him so much, Chloe." "No, I didn't," she insisted, hugging me tighter. "I would never like him. I like you." "Really? You look at him and you don't remember anything at all." "No, nothing," she said, looking at me nervously. "I don't remember him. I only remember you. Asterisk, that damn Evan. I'll deal with him immediately. Anyone who makes my Ethan unhappy deserves to die." Asterisk, hearing her thoughts, I couldn't help but laugh. Now I was certain of her feelings. I still didn't know what had caused this change in her, but I would find out eventually. "Good girl, Chloe," I said, pulling her close and offering myself to her. "Here's your reward." She happily pounced, her clumsy acting barely concealing her eagerness. That evening, Jessica came over for dinner. She waited until I went upstairs to shower before she found a moment to speak with Chloe alone. "Ms. Beaumont, Evan called me today. He was asking about you and Mr. Hayes." Chloe just grunted in response. "Where is Olivia Sterling?" "Ms. Sterling? She's still overseas. Didn't she just send you a gift last month?" Jessica reminded her, then noticed that Chloe's expression had turned ice cold, with a dangerous glint in her eye. A knot of unease formed in Jessica's stomach. "Ms. Beaumont, is something wrong?" "It's nothing. Did you contact Dr. Nicole Avery like I asked?" "Dr. Avery is also out of the country at an international medical conference. She's a guest speaker." Chloe frowned. "Tell her to come back immediately." "Can't the conference go on without her?" "Actually, no. She's the keynote speaker. The entire conference is centered around her research. She won't be back for at least 2 weeks. Chloe's expression soured even more. Jessica hesitated before asking, "Ms. Beaumont, why are you in such a hurry to see Dr. Avery? Are you not feeling well?" "No. I want her to give Ethan a full physical. I don't trust anyone else. She drugged me 4 years ago." The memory made Chloe's heart ache. Jessica knew exactly what she was referring to and fell silent as well. After a long moment, Chloe took a deep breath and schooled her features, not wanting me to see her looking so grim when I came back downstairs. Forget it. Just keep me updated on Nicole's schedule. How are things at the company? Everything's running smoothly. It's just, I feel like I've earned a raise. Not happening. Jessica fell silent and sulked. When she saw me coming downstairs, her eyes lit up. Mr. Hayes, there's something I'd like to talk to you about. Chloe immediately shot her a glare. I just toweled my hair and grunted, okay, what is it? Well, since Ms. Beaumont has been unwell, I've been handling all of her duties at the company, acting as both her personal assistant and the interim CEO. I was wondering if that might warrant a raise, Mr. Hayes. I looked at Chloe with amusement. Shouldn't that be a decision for Ms. Beaumont? Normally, she just gives the final approval on things like this. But given the circumstances, I thought you might approve some hazard pay for me, Jessica said, shooting a smug glance at Chloe behind me. I pretended to consider it for a moment, then nodded. All right, fine. I glanced at Chloe, who was looking back and forth between us with a clueless expression. Asterisk Jessica Miller, you just wait. You think you can play me like this? Asterisk hearing her thoughts. I couldn't help but laugh. I pulled Chloe into a hug and kissed her cheek. You're so cute, Chloe. Chloe didn't know why I was suddenly praising her, but she snuggled into my embrace, happy for the affection. Jessica, meanwhile, was beaming. Great. Well, Ms. Beaumont, Mr. Hayes, I'll be on my way. She completely ignored the icy glare Chloe was shooting at her back. As long as I was here, Chloe had to keep up her act, so she was safe. After Jessica left, I patted Chloe on the back. Go take a shower. You wash me, Ethan. I don't know how, she said, starting her usual nightly routine of trying to trick me into bathing her. Boys and girls can't shower together, I repeated, for what felt like the 100th time. But you're my husband. Mommy said so, she insisted, rubbing against me. I looked at her for a moment, then a slow smile spread across my face. All right, really? You mean it? Yay, she cheered, pulling me upstairs. But when we reached the bathroom, I stopped and just patted her on the head with a smile. I'll wait for you out here. Her face fell, and she looked at me with a pout. You're mean, Ethan. Yes, I am. Now get in there. I gave her a gentle push inside, then added, do you want me to call Maya to help you? Her angry voice echoed from the bathroom. No, not her. I want you. It's Maya or no one. I'm not talking to you anymore, she huffed. I could practically hear her gritting her teeth, trying to figure out a way to get Maya out of the picture. Such a nuisance. The next morning at breakfast, I fed her a spoonful of oatmeal. I have to go out for a little while. Will you be okay here by yourself? Of course, she refused. No, I'll only be gone for half an hour, I said, feeding her a bite of egg. If you're good, I'll play with you when I get back. Play what? She asked immediately. If she couldn't go with me, she was determined to get some compensation. What do you want to play? Let's play rock, paper, scissors. Loser takes off an article of clothing. Seeing her eager expression, I licked my lips. All right, with my promise secured, she obediently watched me leave. After leaving Serenity Gardens, I took a cab to Hillside Memorial Park. My mother, Eleanor Hayes, was buried here. The dates on her headstone read 1990 to 2023. It was laughable. Richard Hayes had never once visited her grave after the funeral. He didn't even know that I had moved her ashes here to Hillside. I placed the flowers I'd brought on the grave and looked at the photo on the headstone. Mom, you won't believe the last few days. Feels like a dream. Chloe is like a completely different person. She's even pretending to have the mind of a child. I was about to divorce her. I was so tired of it all. But it's not that I stopped loving her. So it's only natural that these old feelings are coming back. I continued to tell her everything that had happened. Just then, I caught a movement out of the corner of my eye. A figure was walking quickly toward me, stopping just a few feet away. Mentor. I stopped talking and turned to look at her. Raven, you're early. Raven handed me a folder, her eyes scanning me up and down. Early, late, it doesn't matter. Here's the admission letter you wanted. But Mentor, going back to school is a complete waste of your time. Are you sure you won't reconsider coming with me to the Global Hacker Conference in Europe? You shouldn't be wasting your life on that woman. She continued trying to persuade me, but I cut her off by taking the folder. Raven, I don't think I've ever heard you say so many words at once. She immediately fell silent, just watching me. Look, I know you're just looking out for me, but one day, Raven, you'll understand. It's only when you meet that one person who can destroy you that your life truly begins. I tucked the admission letter away, gave my mother's grave one last look, and turned to leave. Raven stood and watched me go. After a long moment, she placed the flowers she had brought on the grave. Mrs. Hayes, you raised a wonderful son. It's just a shame he's not mine. The moment I walked back into Serenity Gardens, Chloe threw herself into my arms. "Ethan, you were gone forever." "That's because I stopped to get a cake for my favorite girl," I said, holding up the cake box. "No, I don't want cake. I just want you." "So where did you go, Ethan?" "I went to visit my mother's grave." She froze, clearly not expecting that answer. "Her grave? It's nothing you need to worry about, but there is something I need to tell you. In a month, the semester at Stanford starts, and I'll be attending classes. So I won't be here during the day." "No, you can't go. I'll only be gone during the day. I'll be back to spend the evenings with you." "No, you can't," she insisted, her expression shifting as she buried her face in my chest. I had expected this reaction. "Fine, then you can come with me." That left her speechless. "If you don't want me going alone, then you'll have to come with me. Since you don't even know who you are anymore, it shouldn't be a problem. And as for whether the Beaumont family becomes a laughingstock, well, that's not my concern," I said, playfully pinching her ear. She just pouted and said nothing. "Chloe, you kept me trapped for 4 years. You have to let me do this one thing for myself." My words made her face fall, and her grip on me tightened. I kept you trapped for 4 years. That doesn't matter anymore, Chloe. It's in the past. We're a normal married couple now. Like you said, we had an arranged marriage. We're going to be together forever, right?" She continued to pout, and it took a lot of coaxing before I could get her to reluctantly nod. After she nodded, she lost interest in the cake and just curled up on the sofa to sulk. I thought she was feeling guilty about the past and was about to comfort her, but then I heard her thoughts. If he's at class all day, then at night, maybe I can finally get him to take a bath with me. So much for comforting her. Chloe seemed to think she was in for a treat, but that night, I kicked her out of the bedroom. She stood there, clutching a pillow and looking at me with pitiful eyes. "Ethan, you don't want me anymore." I leaned against the doorframe with my arms crossed. "That's right. I suddenly realized I've been spoiling you too much. You did some bad things in the past, and you need to be punished for them, right? If you're a good girl, I'll forgive you." She saw her opening and immediately pressed against me. "I'll be good, I promise. So can we please not sleep in separate rooms? I can't sleep unless I'm holding you." I looked at the woman trying to wheedle her way back in and gently nudged her out with my foot. "No." Then I shut the door. Chloe barely managed to avoid getting hit by the door. She stared at the closed door for a long moment, then a slow smile spread across her face. "Ah, he's so cute." She was, of course, unhappy that she couldn't sleep with me, but she reminded herself that she was here to atone for her sins. With that thought, she turned and went to the guest room. In the master bedroom, just a wall away, I stared at the admission letter from Stanford, lost in thought. It was one of the best universities in the country, and it was where Evan was a student. I opened my phone and looked at another email. It was an invitation from Stanford, asking me to return as an honorary professor. It wasn't the only one. I had invitations addressed to a master of traditional medicine, a world-class architect, a leading figure in the contemporary art world. All of them were me. I had no interest in teaching at Stanford. The only person I wanted to teach and nurture was Chloe. But now, knowing that Evan was there, my interest was piqued. Going as a professor wouldn't be any fun, but going as a student, that way no one could accuse me of bullying him. I turned off the lights, lay down, and locked the door. In the guest room, Chloe, having already arranged things with Jessica, checked the time and quietly slipped out of her room. She figured I would be asleep by now and she could sneak in and hold me. But when she happily tried the door, she found it was locked. She sighed, then willingly took her pillow and made a bed for herself on the floor outside my door. The next morning, I opened my door and almost stepped on her face. I was both annoyed and amused. I squatted down and gently tickled her face with the tie of my robe. She woke with a start, grabbing the tie. "Stop it, Ethan," she mumbled, her eyes fluttering open. She wrapped her arms around my neck, pulling me down as she sat up and snuggled into my chest. "You're mean, Ethan. That's not a fun game. You promised you'd play the stripping game with me yesterday." She pouted and reached for my robe. I hadn't realized she was this desperate. I thought for a second, then pushed her flat against the floor. She was stunned for a moment, then lay back obediently. "Ooh, so assertive. I like it," she squealed, closing her eyes in anticipation. But after waiting for a long moment with nothing happening, she opened her eyes to find I was gone. She flopped back onto the floor in frustration. "Ethan, you jerk." I heard her shout from the kitchen and chuckled to myself. When I turned around, she was standing right behind me, already washed up for the day, though her face was still dripping wet. The next second, she rubbed her wet face against mine. "Now you're wet too. All right, go get dressed so we can eat. I want you to feed me." I was about to agree when one of the staff came in. "Mr. Hayes, Security says there's a delivery for you at the gate. That's for me. Have them bring it in. I accepted the delivery and, without even eating breakfast, went straight to my study to start assembling the new computer parts. When Chloe brought my breakfast to me, she stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching. She had never given much thought to my past. Before our marriage, all she knew was that Evan had an older, illegitimate half-brother whose mother had died young, and who had been sent to live in the countryside, unwanted and forgotten. She had never even met me until that night she was drugged. How did he learn to do all this? What was his life like in all those years before he met her? She suddenly realized she knew nothing about me at all. And yet, she knew that I remembered every single one of her likes and dislikes. She came into the room, set the breakfast tray on a nearby table, and then wrapped her arms around me, resting her head on my shoulder. I couldn't work with her clinging to me like that. I can't move if you do that, I said. She didn't say anything, but after a moment's thought, she shifted, ducking under my arm to curl up in my lap, burying her face against my stomach. I could feel the warmth and dampness of her body against mine. She was crying. The realization stunned me. I tentatively touched her shoulder. Why are you crying? She just shifted, hugging me tighter. I put down my tools and wrapped an arm around her, patting her back gently. Did Maya say something mean to you? I'm sorry. Her thought made my hand freeze. Sorry? What was she sorry for? Was she tired of this game already? It's pathetic. I say I love him, but I don't know anything about him. I've wasted so many years. How can I ever make it up to him? How am I supposed to love you, Ethan? How? Meanwhile, Dr. Nicole Avery had just gotten off a plane and was being driven to Serenity Gardens by Jessica. As they walked through the bamboo grove on the property, they saw me pushing a giggling Chloe on a swing. Nicole rubbed her eyes in disbelief. Who is that? I didn't know Chloe had a twin sister. As you know, Ms. Beaumont does not have a twin sister. Then what is this? As you can see, she's had a mental break. At that moment, I patted Chloe on the head. We have guests, Chloe. She grumbled and buried her face in my chest. Don't know them, don't like them, but we have to be polite to our guests, Chloe. Come on, let's go to the living room. Chloe followed me inside. Out of my line of sight, she shot a quick glance at Jessica and Nicole. Nicole was an internationally renowned psychologist. There was no way Chloe's act would fool her. After catching Chloe's eye, Nicole looked to Jessica for an explanation. Ms. Beaumont has her reasons for this. Please, Dr. Avery, don't say anything. And the man with her, that's Ethan Hayes? Strange. I thought she couldn't stand him. Now she's crazy about him. What changed? You'd have to ask her. I actually knew of Nicole Avery. My own protege, Sarah Reed, was a top cardiothoracic surgeon, and since they were both leading experts in their fields, it was impossible for them not to know each other. In fact, Sarah and Dr. Avery had a bit of a history. If Dr. Avery took a position back in the States, she would likely end up at Cedars-Sinai. Once we were all settled in the living room with iced tea, I finally spoke. I don't believe we've been introduced. Nicole Avery. I'm a friend of the little simpleton next to you. I'm a doctor, but I don't treat the common cold. You're the simpleton, Chloe shot back. Well, you're not so simple you can't understand me, I see. Seeing them bickering, I intervened, a hint of annoyance in my voice. Chloe has learned a new skill recently. She can understand the language of beasts. She can understand not only what people say, but what animals say too. Isn't that right, Chloe? Chloe huffed, hugged me tighter, and nodded with a very serious expression. Jessica, picking up on a cue from Chloe, changed the subject. Dr. Avery, Ms. Beaumont contacted you because she'd like you to give both her and Mr. Hayes a full physical. She doesn't trust anyone else. When would be a good time for you? A physical? What for? I asked. Ms. Beaumont was just concerned you might have some underlying health issues that should be addressed. She asked me to arrange this before her accident, but you were out of the country, Dr. Avery, so it was delayed. She was just worried about Mr. Hayes, that's all. But as soon as Jessica finished, Chloe added with a very serious face, "We're trying to have a baby." My face grew hot and I turned to her. Chloe, what are you talking about? I'm talking about what we need to do to make a baby, she said, burying her face in the crook of my neck. You don't even know what you're saying. Do you even know how that works? She nuzzled my neck, then looked up at me with a very serious expression. I do. Mommy told me when she arranged the marriage. If we sleep together, we'll have a baby. I stared at her for a moment. I see. Well, if that's what you want, then we'll do it. We'll just have to trouble Dr. Avery. It's no trouble, Nicole said, but I have one condition. I want to stay here at Serenity Gardens. It's a big place. Surely you have a spare room. What do you think, Chloe? I asked. After a final nuzzle, Chloe gave a reluctant grunt of agreement. If she refused, Nicole might expose her act, and she couldn't have that. As expected, upon her return, Nicole took a 3-year position as a consulting expert in the neurosurgery department at Cedars-Sinai. When Sarah found out, she was furious and called me in a rage. "Mentor, when are you going to step in? I can't have that woman working in the same hospital as me. She's in neurosurgery, you're in cardiothoracic. You'll never even see each other. What are you so worried about? You two may have been rivals in medical school, but I've taught you plenty since then." Sarah considered this. "So, Mentor, is Nicole really staying at Serenity Gardens?" "Yes, and I'm going to Cedars-Sinai for that physical tomorrow, so don't you dare let anything slip." "What? Mentor, are you sick?" "No, I'm getting a physical so we can try for a baby." The phrase "try for a baby" made Sarah practically leap out of her chair. "Mentor, are you really going to stay with that horrible woman?" I held the phone away from my ear until she was done shouting. "Who else would I be with?" I asked. "Anyone would be better than her. You deserve so much more, Mentor. That's enough. And don't cause any trouble at the hospital tomorrow." The next day, it was Nicole's own team that conducted our physicals. Sarah, of course, couldn't resist coming to watch. Everything was fine while I waited for Chloe outside the exam room. But when it was my turn, and Chloe was waiting in the hall, Sarah stood there, nodding to herself as she sized Chloe up. "I have to admit, she's a beautiful woman. Based on looks alone, she's almost good enough to shine your shoes, Mentor. But she's nowhere near good enough to stand by your side." Sarah had planned to wait for me, but she was called away on an emergency. As Sarah walked away, Chloe shot a quick glance at her back. Asterisk, who is that? Why was she here to see Ethan? Asterisk, even though we hadn't spoken, she could sense that we knew each other. Chloe immediately called Jessica. "Does Nicole have any colleagues from her university days here?" "A Dr. Sarah Reed from cardiothoracic. I want you to find out everything you can about her and her connection to Ethan." After that, our physicals came back clean. Everything was normal. Chloe was finally able to relax and immediately started pestering me to go home so she could have some candy. Seeing that she was about to throw a full-blown tantrum in the hospital hallway, I had no choice but to take her home. But when we got to the gates of Serenity Gardens, Evan was there, arguing with the security guard. "Who do you think you are? How dare you try to stop me?" Our car pulled up to the gate, and I rolled down the window, looking calmly at my half-brother. "I didn't realize you'd gone deaf. I told you not to come here again. Did you not hear me?" Evan's face soured for a second before he forced a smile. "I heard Chloe was at the hospital today. I was just worried about her. After all, before her mother passed, she arranged for Chloe and I to be married, and she asked me to look after her. If it wasn't for you, never mind. There's no point in discussing this with you." "Chloe, are you in there?" He tried to peer into the car, but I blocked his view. I was done with him. "Drive," I said calmly to Maya. "And from now on, Evan and dogs, no, just Evan, is not allowed on this property. I'm thinking of adopting some stray cats and dogs, to build up some good karma." Humiliated in front of everyone, Evan flew into a rage. "You, how can you say that? I'm your brother." "My brother? We share a father, that's all. You have no right to call me that." As the window rolled up, the security guard took out a taser and gestured for Evan to leave. "Sir, please cooperate and leave the premises." In the car, Chloe clung to me, nuzzling against my chest, making it impossible for me to stay angry. The moment we got out of the car, she ran inside. She disappeared into a back storage room for a while, then emerged with a dusty face, proudly holding up a wooden plank. "Ethan, look!" On the board, she had scrawled, "No trash, Evan, allowed." I burst out laughing. "Did you write this, Chloe?" She nodded enthusiastically, her voice ringing out. "Yes, I wrote it for you." I took a handkerchief and gently wiped the dust from her face. "You certainly did." She then snatched the handkerchief, wiped her own mouth, and leaned in to kiss me. "Reward. I want a reward. Lots and lots of rewards." I was touched and puckered my lips to meet her kiss. In the end, we had the sign framed and mounted outside the gates of Serenity Gardens, a permanent reminder to all who passed: Evan is trash. In my study, Chloe suddenly grabbed my hand and began to play with my fingers. "Your hands are so big, Ethan. Let's compare." "Your hands are so cold. I need to warm them up." "You smell so good." Her attention then shifted to my ring finger. She began to kiss the spot where a wedding ring should be over and over. Then she looked up at me. "It's empty. It doesn't look right. I'm going to buy you a ring to keep you by my side forever. Do you want that, Ethan? Do you want me? And what if I say no? You can only say yes. If you say no, I'll..." She didn't finish, instead pressing her cheek against mine. Asterisk, "I'll turn Serenity Gardens into a gilded cage you can never escape. I'll trap you here forever." All of my love and all of my hate are for you, and all of yours must be for me. I don't care if you accept it or not. You can't belong to anyone else. You can't even belong to yourself. You are mine. My Ethan. Asterisk, what on earth was wrong with this woman? That night, after I had fallen asleep, Chloe quietly got up, dimmed the lights, and slipped out of the room. Maya came downstairs for a cup of coffee and found Chloe sitting on the floor, working on something. Ms. Beaumont, you're still awake? Wait, are you sewing? Am I seeing things? Or have you finally lost your mind for real? I'm making a pillow for Ethan, Chloe said without looking up, her brow furrowed in concentration as she tried to thread a needle. Asterisk, this is so hard, and I keep pricking my finger. Ouch. Asterisk, if Mr. Hayes isn't comfortable, you could just buy him a new one. You don't have to sew it yourself. Maya trailed off, not daring to finish her thought. With stitches that clumsy, how was he supposed to sleep on it? Chloe couldn't hear her thoughts. She carefully poured a bag of prepared buckwheat hulls into the silk casing. Of course, something I make myself will be better than anything store-bought. I saw Ethan rubbing his neck the other morning. His pillow must be uncomfortable. These buckwheat hulls are what they used to use for pillows in the old days. They're not easy to find anymore. Maya was speechless. She poured Chloe a cup of tea and went back to her room. There was nothing she could do to help. Chloe worked all night and finally managed to finish 2 lumpy pillows, which she then proudly carried upstairs. I was sound asleep when Chloe carefully lifted my head, swapped out my pillow for her new one, and then lay down beside me. When I woke up, I habitually stretched my neck, then lazed in bed for a few more minutes, my arm around her waist. Normally, Chloe would be squirming and demanding cuddles and kisses before we got out of bed. But today, she sat bolt upright, pointing at the pillow. Ethan, look. I looked at it, confused. When did my pillow get changed? Is it comfortable? I guess so. I lay back down to test it out. It's actually pretty comfortable. The fabric is nice. It's just a little ugly. Look, there's even a loose thread here. My words made her face fall. She huffed and turned her back to me. You're mean, Ethan. I was confused until I heard her thought. I worked on that all night. I never would have guessed that she would make a pillow for me herself. I quickly backtracked, leaning over her shoulder to coax her. Oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It's the best pillow ever. You're so talented, Chloe. She just kept her head down, fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. Then I noticed the needle pricks on her fingers and the crookedly applied bandages. I took her hand to get a closer look. Her hands were beautiful, the kind that would go viral on TikTok. But now, her fingertips were covered in tiny red pricks. I looked down at them and sighed. Chloe, if only you had cared this much sooner. They say that love that comes too late is worthless. But for us, I hope it's not too late. I'm sorry, Ethan. It was all she could say. I squeezed her hand, lacing my fingers through hers, and kissed her knuckles. It's okay. I'll forgive you. Thank you for the pillow. I love it, and it's very comfortable. My words finally made her happy again. She tackled me, snuggling against my chest, then added with a serious air, actually, there's an even more comfortable place to rest your head, right here in my arms. I chuckled, tapping her on the chest. And has any other man ever rested his head in this most comfortable of places? She immediately shook her head, then hugged me tighter. No women either. That afternoon, I was in my study when Chloe, who had been missing for a couple of hours, reappeared. She ran into the room and started rubbing against me. Ethan, you're so hot. I'm not hot. Where did you run off to this time? She held something out to me like a precious treasure. It's for you. I finally got it. I looked and saw a red velvet jewelry box. What is it? I asked, though I had a pretty good idea. Are you sure you want to give this to me? Once you do, you can't give it to anyone else. Of course I won't, she said, opening the box to reveal a pair of matching diamond rings. She knelt before me and reverently took my hand. I want to put this on you, she said. She slowly slid the ring onto my finger. I held up my hand to look at it. It seemed familiar, but I couldn't place it. I would have thought Chloe would have had rings custom-made for us, since these were, in effect, our wedding rings. Chloe, where did you get this ring? Maya took care of it. I pulled her to her feet and we went to find Maya. This ring, I asked her, was it a recent purchase? Or did you buy it a while ago? Ms. Beaumont ordered it after her last trip to the manor. It's a custom piece from Tiffany Company. Do you not like it? I didn't say anything, just slid the ring off my finger. Seeing this, Chloe's heart skipped a beat. She grabbed my hand, her voice trembling. Ethan, you don't want to wear it? No, that's not it. I just want to get a better look. Don't worry. I turned the ring over in my hand, holding it up to the light. I could just make out a faint, gilded inscription on the outer band. I glanced at Chloe. Chloe and I, our hearts are one. It was a ring I had designed under a pseudonym when I was just a teenager. It was a one-of-a-kind piece. I had lost the original sketches years ago. I had no idea how it had ended up as a custom piece from Tiffany's. Someone must have stolen my design. Chloe looked at me nervously. Ethan, what is it? Is something wrong with the ring? She shot a venomous glare at Maya, who looked equally confused. Mr. Hayes, is there a problem with the ring? I snapped out of my thoughts and placed the ring in Chloe's palm. She stared at me, her expression unreadable. I was backlit by the sun, and the glare made it hard for her to see my face. Asterisk, he doesn't want it. He won't wear it. Asterisk, the thought almost made her collapse, and 1,000 dark possibilities flashed through her mind. But a second later, she managed to force a smile. Let me put yours on you first, I said, holding out my hand for her ring. Maybe it was fate. My lost design had found its way back to me, on the hand of the woman I loved. After she had her ring on, she squeezed my hand. Do you like it, Ethan? I love it. It's from you, so of course I love it, I said, then handed her my ring so she could put it on me. The diamond sparkled on my finger. Chloe was so excited she looked like she might lift me off the ground. Ethan, I love you. And where did you learn to say that? I teased. She tilted her head back to look at me. I learned it from TV. If you want to hear it, I'll say it to you every day. Good, then you have to say it every day. Don't miss a single one. I glanced at the ring one more time, then wrapped my arm around her waist and leaned against her, closing my eyes. Maya tactfully excused herself. Chloe held me, a deep sense of contentment washing over her. Her only fear was that I wouldn't want to hear her say it. She held me close, but after a moment, she realized something was wrong. She sat me up, her voice filled with panic. Ethan? Ethan, what's wrong? Ethan, just a moment ago, I had been fine, but now I was completely unconscious. My hand, with the new ring on it, hung limply at my side. My breathing was so shallow it was almost non-existent. Chloe's heart nearly stopped. The sight of me now merged with the terrible, secret memories of my death in her past life. The next second, a shrill, terrified scream tore from her throat. Somebody, help, get the car. Now! Nicole was in the middle of a presentation to the cardiothoracic department when she got the call. The color drained from her face. She hung up, mumbled an apology to the department, and ran for the ER. Sarah saw the look on her face and, after a moment's hesitation, followed her. Asterisk, don't tell me something's happened to the mentor and that woman. No, it can't be. His dormant period isn't due yet. Asterisk, the thought made Sarah run faster. She reached the ER just in time to see me being wheeled into a trauma room, and she quickly pushed her way inside. Luckily, everyone was so focused on me that no one tried to stop her. In fact, she was the one who ordered the other nurses and doctors out of the room. Nicole was already leaning over me, checking my vitals. How did he collapse? Maya tried to recall the exact moment. He just passed out. 1 second he was fine, and the next he was unconscious. Nicole straightened up, gave Chloe a concerned look, and then ordered her assistant to bring in a full diagnostic setup. Chloe stood to one side, her face as white as a sheet. The only sound in the room was the beeping and whirring of the medical equipment. As the minutes ticked by, the frown on Nicole's face only deepened. She was about to have me moved to the neurology department for more tests, but Sarah stopped her. It's no use. You know as well as I do that no test is going to show what's wrong with him. Maya glanced at Chloe, her heart pounding. What do you mean? No one answered her. Nicole's silence was a clear admission that Sarah was right. Nicole had spent years overseas, encountering all manner of rare and complex medical conditions. She prided herself on being able to diagnose anything, but she had no idea why I had collapsed. Dr. Avery, what is happening? Maya demanded. Nicole took a deep breath and turned to face them. I don't know. I don't think there's anyone in the world who does. Then Mr. Hayes. Maya couldn't bring herself to finish the sentence. Is he going to die? The only good news is that his vitals are stable. He appears to be in a deep, natural sleep. I'll contact my mentor's research institute immediately and have him transferred. Nicole tried to sound reassuring, but then she looked at Chloe's ashen face and sighed. Chloe, we'll do everything we can. Her words finally seemed to register with Chloe. She slowly lifted her bloodshot eyes, her pale lips parting as if to speak, but no sound came out. She staggered forward and fell to her knees with a thud that made everyone in the room jump. She slowly reached out and took my hand, lacing her fingers through mine. The sparkle of our new rings seemed to blind her. Ever since she had been reborn, a sense of dread had followed her. She had done so many terrible things in her past life. Did she really think she would escape punishment in this one? Her little act had been enough to make me pity her, to stop me from divorcing her, to even make me dote on her. What kind of punishment was that? So she lived in constant fear that this was all just a sweet dream, and that she would wake up to find she was still that despicable person, unworthy of my love. And now, on the very day we exchanged rings, was the dream finally over? Had she been given a second chance just to be shown what she had lost, how foolish and cruel she had been? She trembled as she pressed my hand to her lips, her entire being seeming to shatter as she whispered my name. Ethan. Even Sarah, who knew the truth, was unsettled by the sight of Chloe's despair. Nicole took a shaky breath. Chloe, I'm gonna contact my mentor. Don't worry, we won't give up on him. But Sarah suddenly grabbed her arm. It won't do any good, even if you contact your mentor. Hey you, she said, pointing at Chloe. I know how to save him. Everyone in the room stared at her. Nicole frowned at her. This is not the time for our rivalry, Sarah. Don't make jokes. Sarah shook her off and walked over to my bedside. I'm not joking. I know how to save him. If you don't believe me, fine. After a few seconds, Chloe turned to her. What do I have to do? Sarah looked at Chloe, determined to get some revenge on her mentor's behalf, and put on a very serious expression. He's been afflicted by a spiritual ailment. To cure it, his one true love must perform a ritual for 30 days. You must let a bit of your blood each day, eat only a simple diet, and spend the day in prayer and meditation. You can only sleep for 4 hours a night. If your heart is pure and your devotion is true, he will wake in a month. No one in the room believed a word she was saying, except for Chloe. Nicole was furious. Sarah, you're a scientist, a product of modern medicine. Do you really expect anyone to believe that nonsense? I guarantee this will work. I have no reason to lie. It's up to her whether she believes me or not. Ms. Beaumont, no. This is absurd. Maya pleaded. Chloe, you have to be rational. We'll find a real cure for him. Nicole insisted. Everyone was trying to talk her out of it, but Chloe used the bed to pull herself to her feet and looked Sarah straight in the eye. I believe you. Tell me what to do. Take him home. Take care of him. Then, every day, you must kneel at his bedside for 6 hours. You can use the time to pray or to reflect on your past sins and repent. Every 3 days, you must offer half a bowl of your blood. Can you do that? The more Nicole heard, the more absurd it sounded. Sarah, what are you doing? But Chloe cut her off. Yes, I can do it. We're taking Ethan home. Ms. Beaumont, you can't. Maya began to protest, but Chloe silenced her with a single look. She wasn't listening to reason. Her mind was completely focused on me. If Sarah had told her that destroying the world would wake me up, Chloe would have done it without a second thought. She would do anything to save me. I was the only one she couldn't bear to fail. Sarah gave my sleeping form one last look, then turned and left, feeling quite pleased with herself. This coma was an annual occurrence for me. Sarah and I had met 7 or 8 years ago, after she saw a post I made on a medical forum asking about a yearly, unexplained coma. During my 4 years at the manor, I had been so neglected that no one would have even noticed if I'd fallen into one of my comas. I had my own people at the manor, so it was easy to be cared for in secret. The comas usually lasted from 2 weeks to a month, and I always woke up with no ill effects. Sarah just couldn't stand Chloe, and she was determined to get some revenge on my behalf. We had spent years studying my condition, but we had never been able to determine the cause. Sarah had stopped Nicole because she knew that if I couldn't diagnose myself, no one could. Back at Serenity Gardens, Chloe gently laid me on the bed and gave me a soft kiss. Go get the things ready, she said to Maya. Maya knew Chloe's stubborn nature. Once she had made up her mind, there was no changing it. Since she had believed that doctor, there was no stopping her. Maya sighed and obediently went out to buy books on meditation and prayer. A short while later, with everything prepared, Chloe began to cut her wrist. She watched the blood flow, her mind flashing back for a moment. Asterisk in my past life. Did Ethan go through this to save me? Evan and Olivia didn't just take his blood. They drained him dry. Asterisk the thought, strangely, brought a hint of sweetness to her heart. Asterisk now it's my turn to save him, isn't it? I'll give all of my blood back to him. Asterisk Chloe had intended to fill the entire bowl, but Maya stopped her. Ms. Beaumont, if you give too much, the ritual might not work. Maya felt ridiculous saying it, but Chloe believed her. She hastily bandaged her wrist and prepared to kneel at my bedside. Ms. Beaumont, your wrist is still bleeding. You need to bandage it properly. When Chloe ignored her, Maya took a deep breath and tried a different tactic. Ms. Beaumont, all of your blood is for Mr. Hayes. Don't waste a single drop. That finally got her attention. She obediently allowed Maya to bandage her wrist properly. Then, she ordered everyone out of the room, closed the door, and knelt by my bed, pressing my hand to her forehead and whispering my name. Ethan. Jessica rushed back as soon as she heard the news. How is she? Maya rubbed her temples. She's in his room, kneeling. Don't even bother trying to talk to her. It's no use. How long can she keep this up? Both women were sick with worry. Chloe grew thinner by the day. She was cold and distant with everyone else, but whenever she looked at me, her face would crumple as she begged me to wake up. Nicole came to check on her several times. "You're going to kill yourself if you keep this up," she warned. Chloe would just hold me tighter and shake her head. I won't die before he wakes up. I want him to watch me die. Or, we'll die together." Nicole shook her head and gestured for Maya and Jessica to restrain Chloe. She had brought a sedative. Chloe seemed to sense their intent. She tightened her grip on me and gave them a chilling smile. "If you dare to interrupt me, I'll take you all down with me." Nicole was furious. "Chloe, have you lost your mind?" Seeing things were about to escalate, Maya quickly pulled Nicole out of the room. "Stop yelling. If we could have talked her out of it, we would have." Nicole took a deep, steadying breath, then sighed. "Fine, just watch her closely. Call me if anything changes." The days passed, and soon more than 3 weeks had gone by with no change in my condition. The sound of Chloe's laughter was no longer heard at Serenity Gardens. Chloe's face was a ghastly shade of pale as she let another drop of blood fall into the bowl. "When I've given you all of my blood, you'll come back to me, won't you, Ethan?" she whispered with a trembling, broken laugh and leaned down to kiss me. Her face, which I had once found so beautiful, was now gaunt and haggard. She leaned against me, holding my hand and speaking in a weak voice. "Ethan, I'm so tired. Can I sleep here with you? I'm so sorry, Ethan. I love you. Please, forgive me." Her voice trailed off as her head lolled against my shoulder. "Ethan," and just then, the man in her arms stirred. Chloe felt the movement immediately. She froze, then tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness sent her falling back down, right on top of me. I let out a groan as I came to. "Ouch, Chloe, that hurt." But when I got a good look at her, my playful mood vanished. "Chloe, what happened to you?" She didn't answer, just clung to me, her body shaking with choked sobs as she repeated my name over and over. "Ethan, Ethan, Ethan." I held her, patting her back gently. "Sure, it's okay. Who hurt you? It's okay, don't cry." But she just cried harder, her sobs echoing through the house, so violent it seemed she might pass out. I had no choice but to kiss her forehead gently. "Shoo, Chloe, please stop crying. Tell me who did this to you." But she just held on tighter, clinging to the proof that I was alive. Seeing her state, I frowned. I kissed her one more time, then used a pressure point to knock her unconscious. If I let her keep crying like that, she would make herself seriously ill. I laid her gently on the bed and took in her gaunt frame, her pale, haggard face, and the scars. There were dozens of ugly scars on her wrists and forearms. Some were healed, others were fresh, covered with hastily wrapped bandages that were slowly seeping blood. I opened her robe and saw another scar, this one over her heart. A lump formed in my throat. What had she been doing? I searched the room, found my phone and a charger, and immediately called Sarah. "Mentor, you're finally awake. This time you were," Sarah began, a clear note of relief in her voice, but I cut her off. "What did you tell Chloe?" She faltered, stammering, afraid to answer. "Sarah," I said, my voice dangerously low, "don't make me get angry." Okay. I didn't mean any real harm. I just wanted to teach her a lesson," she said, and quickly explained everything. I was furious. If she had died, Sarah, we would be finished. Do you understand? I would never dare to hurt her. How could you? My words sent her into a panic. "I'm sorry, Mentor. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I just thought, a little bloodletting, a little kneeling, it wouldn't be that bad." I knew the whole story now and couldn't be bothered to argue with her further. I hung up with a cold snort and went downstairs to get help. I was awake, but now Chloe was unconscious. The house was once again thrown into chaos. When Nicole moved to treat Chloe's wounds, I stopped her. "I'll do it. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing." Jessica glanced at Nicole's expression and quickly stepped in with a smile. "Of course. We'll be just downstairs, Mr. Hayes. Call us if you need anything." She set the medical kit down and gave Nicole a pointed look. Nicole gave me one last look before turning to leave. Jessica offered an apologetic smile. Dr. Avery tried to reason with Ms. Beaumont several times. They almost came to blows. "Please don't hold it against her." "Of course I don't blame her," I said. "I know she's a good friend to Chloe. Thank you both for everything you've done. You waking up is all the thanks we need, Mr. Hayes. Otherwise, Ms. Beaumont, I know it's not my place to say this, but she truly regrets how she treated you before. She loves you very much. I know it's unfair to ask, but I hope you can try to forgive her. You can make her pay for it for the rest of your married life. But please, believe that her feelings are genuine now." I looked at Chloe lying on the bed and nodded unconsciously. "I will. Then I'll leave you to it, Jessica said, quietly exiting. As I opened the medical kit, I called out to her. Oh, one more thing. Could you please let the kitchen staff know that I'll be making dinner tonight? I want to thank everyone. Jessica stared at me, her surprise evident. You can cook? I might even be good at it, I replied with a small smile. Chloe was so weak. I needed to nurse her back to health. Maya had already bathed her and changed her into fresh clothes. I carefully cleaned and bandaged every one of her wounds, gave her an injection of a nutrient solution, and then gently poked her hollowed cheek. You silly fool, I murmured. How could you believe such nonsense? All that education wasted. You've suffered so much for nothing. Don't be scared. I'm going to be fine. Chloe didn't wake until evening, and the first thing she did was look for me. I was already downstairs cooking. She came rushing down the stairs just as I was walking out of the kitchen, and she froze, just staring at me. Chloe, you're awake, I said gently. After a second, as if confirming she wasn't dreaming, she launched herself at me. The force of her hug sent me stumbling backward, and I almost lost my footing. Ethan, she cried, her grip so tight I could barely breathe. Chloe, you're crushing me. But she wouldn't loosen her hold. No, I'm afraid you'll fall asleep again. My mind was on the food I'd left on the stove, so I tried to soothe her quickly. I won't. I'm perfectly fine now, see? But you were fine right before you collapsed, she sobbed. You had just put on the ring, and then suddenly, it took a lot of soft words, kisses, and promises before I could finally calm her down. I wiped away her tears. I made you something delicious. Do you want to come see? You cooked? She asked, surprised. You know how to cook? She had never known. Asterisk, I really don't know anything. I don't know him at all. Asterisk, I heard the guilt and sadness in her thoughts and smiled, leaning down to kiss her. It's okay that you don't know. Just think of me as a present you get to unwrap, little by little. She liked that idea. Unwrapping a present. Does that mean I get to unwrap his clothes? Her mind had clearly gone somewhere else entirely. I suddenly felt less inclined to continue the conversation. Dinner was surprisingly lavish. When Jessica heard I was cooking, she had eaten a large snack beforehand, just in case. Now, smelling the incredible aroma wafting from the dining room, she could have kicked herself. Here, Chloe, have some of this, I said, ladling a bowl of chicken soup for her. She took my hand carefully. Be careful, it's hot. Let me blow on it for you. Despite being stuffed, Jessica couldn't stop eating and praising the food. Mr. Hayes, you're an amazing cook. I want to come over for dinner every night. Chloe immediately shot her a glare. In your dreams. Maya smirked and leaned over to whisper in Jessica's ear. Well, I get to eat here every night. In the middle of the meal, a housekeeper came in. Ms. Beaumont, there's a visitor at the gate. A Ms. Sterling. At the mention of the name, the table fell silent. A dark look crossed Chloe's face before she quickly smoothed her expression into one of blank ignorance. Seeing the tension, Jessica immediately put down her chopsticks. It's fine, you all keep eating. I'll go see what she wants. I watched Chloe, a flicker of confusion in my mind. Her reaction was strange. Ms. Sterling. That would be Olivia Sterling. She was supposed to be Chloe's best friend. They were incredibly close. The Sterlings and the Beaumonts were old family friends. She, Chloe, and Evan had practically grown up together. So why the long face at the mention of her name? I picked up a piece of shrimp and offered it to her. Not wanting me to worry, she turned back to me with a bright smile and took the bite. So delicious. You're an amazing cook, Ethan. Chloe, do you remember Ms. Sterling? I asked. Don't know her. Who's that? I don't like her, she mumbled, pressing herself against me as if to block my view of the door. So, where I couldn't see her face, she dropped the act, her expression turning to one of pure, murderous rage. Olivia Sterling, I'm going to make you wish you were never born. I was stunned by the venom in her thoughts. When had things gone so wrong between her and Olivia? Ever since that day in the rain when her attitude toward me shifted, it seemed like the entire world had changed. I glanced across the table at Nicole and Maya, but their expressions were neutral. I decided to push my questions aside for now and focus on finishing dinner with Chloe. Outside the gates, Jessica intercepted Olivia with a polite smile. Ms. Sterling, it's been a while. Only a few months. I brought you a gift, Jessica. Let's go inside and catch up. Jessica's smile didn't waver. Unfortunately, we can't let you in at the moment. What are you talking about? What's going on? Ms. Beaumont is unwell, and the house is also undergoing some renovations. It's best if you go home. She'll call you when she's feeling better. But Olivia wasn't so easily deterred. She brushed past Jessica and walked right in, a sickly sweet smile on her face. Chloe, darling, I heard you were sick. How could you not see me? We're best friends. Her eyes landed on me, her expression a mixture of contempt and scrutiny. Oh, Ethan's here too. I trust you're taking good care of Chloe now that she's ill? Don't go making her angry, like you used to. Chloe tensed, ready to snap, but I placed a calming hand on her arm. I looked up at Olivia, my expression unreadable, a playful smile on my lips. You're right, Miss Sterling. I used to make her angry all the time, but that won't be happening anymore. Olivia, thinking I was admitting defeat, smirked triumphantly. I'm glad you've finally seen the light. Chloe is just too soft-hearted for her own good, letting you, because, I interrupted, my voice quiet but carrying across the room. I now know who the real cause of her illness is. Before she could respond, I picked up my phone and pressed play. A crystal-clear recording filled the room. It was the voices of Evan and Olivia. Once we have controlling interest in Beaumont Industries, Chloe will be of no more use to us. We'll arrange an accident to make her disappear for good. What about Ethan? He seems like a loose end. That country bastard? What can he do? That blood transfusion nearly killed him. He's a wreck. Once this is over, we'll find a reason to throw him out with nothing. Or, he can disappear with Chloe. When the recording ended, the room was deathly silent. The color drained from Olivia's face, leaving it a pasty, terrified white. She stared at me as if I were the devil himself. How do you have that? She stammered. I have much more than you can possibly imagine, I said calmly, rising to my feet and gently guiding the still stunned Chloe to stand behind me. In that moment, I was no longer the meek, submissive husband, but the hunter who had been patiently setting his trap for years. And where's Evan? Tell him to come in. There's no point in hiding outside. Maya understood and opened the front door. Evan stood on the doorstep, his face just as pale as Olivia's. He had clearly heard the entire recording. I looked from one to the other, ready to reveal the endgame I had been planning for 4 years. First, to answer your question, I said, my gaze fixed on Olivia. This recording is merely the tip of the iceberg. I've been collecting evidence for 4 years. I knew what you were planning from the very first day I set foot in this house. I turned to Evan, my eyes like ice. Did you really think I didn't know? That you and your mother forged the betrothal token, claiming the marriage that was meant for me? The true token my mother, Eleanor Hayes, left behind was a pair of jade pendants, engraved with my name and Chloe's. You faked it with a worthless piece of stone. The real pendants, the proof, have been kept safe all these years by my mother's dearest friend, who also happens to be my mentor. As for my skills, I let out a soft laugh. Did you really think my mother would leave me unprepared? She knew exactly what kind of man Richard Hayes was. Long ago, she entrusted my care and education to her most trusted friend, a true Renaissance man. Architecture, medicine, hacking, everything I've learned has been for this day, to reclaim what is rightfully my mother's, and to protect the most important person in my life. Behind me, Chloe covered her mouth with her hand, tears streaming down her face. She finally understood. The man she had dismissed as a worthless, downtrodden boy from the country had been carrying the weight of a painful past and a meticulously crafted plan. And this ring, I said, holding up my hand. Chloe and I, our hearts are one. Olivia, you stole the design from a sketchbook I'd thrown away years ago. You sold it to Tiffany's, thinking it would please Chloe, but you had no idea it was the first gift I ever gave you. It exposed your greed for all to see. As for my coma, I paused, my gaze softening as I looked at Chloe. That was admittedly part of the plan. I knew my annual dormant period was approaching, so I used it to my advantage, faking a critical illness to lure you snakes out of your holes. I wasn't completely unconscious. I was aware of your every move, but I never expected. My voice grew quiet, thick with a mixture of fear and gratitude. I never calculated that Chloe would go to such lengths for me. The horrific things she did to herself trying to bring me back, that was the one variable I never accounted for. It was the most beautiful mistake. I turned and gently wiped the tears from Chloe's face. And so, the game is over, because my girl gets her heart broken when I play. With that, I snapped my fingers. On cue, several uniformed police officers and a team of sharply dressed lawyers filed into the house. The lead attorney approached me and respectfully handed me a folder. Mr. Hayes, the evidence chain against the Sterling Corporation and all assets held by Evan Hayes for commercial fraud and theft of trade secrets is complete. We are ready to file the lawsuit immediately. Furthermore, the LAPD has obtained conclusive evidence of their involvement in illegal fundraising and commercial bribery. Olivia and Evan crumpled to the floor, their faces the color of ash. Their meticulous planning was nothing but a joke in the face of my power. Finally, my eyes fell on the last person the lawyers had invited to join us. My father, Richard Hayes. Richard, I said, not even bothering to call him father. Your embezzlement of my mother, Eleanor Hayes's, entire estate and its subsequent transfer to your illegitimate son constitutes felony embezzlement and fraudulent conveyance. I have my mother's true last will and testament right here. Now, you will lose everything." Richard pointed a trembling finger at me, so enraged he couldn't speak, before finally collapsing. And just like that, a conspiracy years in the making was over in less than an hour. When silence finally returned to Serenity Gardens, I pulled Chloe into my arms. The act was gone, all the childishness and feigned innocence stripped away. She just leaned against my chest, her body trembling. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I lied to you," she whispered, her voice hoarse with guilt. "I only pretended, because I was so afraid you would leave me." I kissed the top of her head. "I know," I said softly. "Ever since that day you came back and made me kneel in the rain, I've had this ability. I can hear your thoughts." She looked up at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "So every I love you, every wicked little thought, every silly thing you did, I knew about all of it." I smiled and pinched her cheek. "My plan for revenge was cold and merciless. But you coming back, you were like a light that brought warmth to all of it. It stopped being about revenge and started being about protecting you. So thank you, Chloe. Thank you for coming back to me." A few months later, I was in my office on the top floor of the Hayes Corporation, reviewing a new acquisition. Chloe, dressed in a sharp business suit, walked in with 2 cups of coffee, sat down across from me, and began her weekly report on Beaumont Industries. There were no more barriers between us. We were husband and wife, and more than that, we were partners. "Oh," she said, suddenly remembering something. She pulled a gold-embossed envelope from her briefcase. "Stanford sent another offer for that honorary professorship. Are you going to take it this time?" I took the letter and tossed it onto a stack of papers on my desk. I walked around to her side and wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my chin on her shoulder. "No," I said softly. "Student, professor, those are just titles. Right now, there's only one title I care about." "What's that?" she asked, turning her head to look at me, my reflection captured in her eyes. I leaned down and kissed her deeply, whispering the answer against her lips so only she could hear. "Chloe Beaumont's husband." My entire world, from the very beginning, was a game board I set just for you. And you, in this long and complicated game, were my only and my ultimate prize.